Hello, everyone, and welcome to this fabulous episode of Menofit Does Homeopathy with me, Jan Blair. I've just a little bit of an introduction. I've been a homeopath now for over 20 years, and a full disclosure, I am 51, and I think I have gone through the menopause. I think. So I am your complete and utter illustration for how you can navigate a healthy menopause in a natural way, because it might not surprise you to hear that I haven't taken HRT because I just take homeopathy. That is my medicine of choice. So any questions that you have as we go along, please just fire them at me. The more interactive, the better. And I want you to get out as much of it as you can do. So I am not precious at all at being interrupted. So please chat away. Okay. So she says, but can't then move on to the next slide. Let's try this button down here. Here we are. So often when I start working with somebody who's going through the menopause, I ask them to bring me a photograph of who they were when they were little, because one of the big things that I see from women when they're starting to go through the change is that they will say to me, I just can't remember who I am anymore, or I'm not sure who I became, and I'm not sure where I lost the person that I was. And so just bringing a photo in can often be a really nice way to get the conversation started about who you are and who you really were before, you know, middle age and the issues that come upon us took over. So I don't know if any of you would care to guess, Kate or Mindy, which one is which, but Emma and I are both on this screen. And, you know, I don't know about you, Em, but certainly looking at that photograph of myself brings up a whole host of memories about, you know, who I was and who I continue to be. And I think a big thing is that a lot of women will say to me that once they get through the navigation phase and they use homeopathy to support them, they'll often say, I've remembered who I am. And there is that wonderful quote, isn't there? I don't know who it's attributed to now, but she remembered who she was and the game changed. And I'm a huge advocate of that, about supporting women through this period in their life, because actually I think that at the end of it, you can become even better than you were before. So that's absolutely what I want to share with you today, how to unravel the threads of your own story and discover where your healing journey can begin, to really think about, you know, it's not the closing of a chapter. It's not what the press portrays menopause. It's really being reunited with the girl that you were, you know, this younger part of ourselves who's free of all that hormonal shit that goes on with the highs and the lows. And certainly for me, I just feel empowered in a way in which I've never felt before. So I want you all to feel the same too.
Oh, good.
All right, so it's interesting because in traditional Chinese medicine, it's called the second spring, which I think is absolutely beautiful. And the Japanese word for menopause is also another beautiful word, which translates as renewal years or energy. And that's a big thing that I see in my practice, that a lot of women have started to lose the energy that they had certainly in their younger years. So I'm all about matching them with a really great remedy to get their energy back and get them being able to enjoy the things that they used to enjoy and being creative again. And certainly, I don't know if any of you know The Female Brain. It's an absolutely brilliant book, because the brilliant doctor who wrote it states, do any of you, are any of you familiar with this? The brilliant doctor who,
No.
okay, I mean, if you want to delve a bit more into it, it's a really good book for that. It became quite famous actually a few years ago, but she says in it that, you know, we're no longer dominated, like I was saying earlier, by these reproductive hormones. So we're not wired anymore to make a baby, which can actually be really liberating, you know, when the time starts to become more focused on ourselves. And it's a time where we can absolutely become more emotionally stable, despite what, you know, again, the press junkets say about how dreadful menopause is and all those awful words that people use to describe it. And for me, you know, it's a time when the hormonal fog can really lift and the woman meets her original essence again. But this time she's better because she's more grounded. And certainly nature models this truth as well. So in elephant and orca pods, you know, the older females are the leaders. You know, they're revered in nature. They are used for their knowledge. They show the younger ones where they can hunt for food if that's appropriate. If they're orcas, the elephants lead them to the feeding grounds. You know, and it's time that we really do the same in terms of revering our matriarchs in society. So let's have a little bit more of a delve into it. So for me, you know, really menopause can feel a bit like being stuck in a lifelong game of Monopoly. And, you know, you've been rolling the dice for decades, you're building houses, raising families, looking after your elders, looking after youngsters, paying the bills, keeping the mortgage going and keeping everybody else afloat. I mean, that tends to be, doesn't it, what the main role of women as caregivers is, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah.
I say unfortunately, I don't mean it like that, but you know, there's so much expectation on women to take that role within the family. You know, certainly I see a lot of women who say, despite having brothers or you know, other males within the family who can help out, it tends to be them who are doing the main caregiving roles, and that can be quite challenging at this phase in your life when, you know, your job might be you're at the pinnacle in your job, you're really busy, but yet your parents might start to be needing a bit more help. Some of us might have issues with our parents where they need care, and suddenly the rules start to change in terms of where we are on the board. So, you know, I like to think of it like this, that one day you're passing go and then the next thing is you're in hot flush jail. And that's certainly true for a lot of women. You know, the hot flushes can be really debilitating. It's not the same for everybody, and this is why homeopathy is so brilliant, because it's an individualized medicine. So the hormones, the sleep, the emotions, they can all land you in trouble, and you start actually starting to wonder, who's running the show here? Am I even in charge anymore, or is this somebody else who's running my game? And that's honestly where homeopathy can step in, because it doesn't leave it to chance. I couldn't resist putting that in, but you know, it's about regaining that control back, to stop paying everybody else's rent and stop needing to look after everybody else's hotels and houses, because it's about, you know, owning your board as you move forwards into the next phase of your life. I mean, the word menopause comes from a French physician who coined it 2 centuries ago. But what it really describes isn't a full stop. It's actually a transition. So I want to talk about that from the get-go, that actually it's a withdrawal, and a gradual withdrawal from the main hormones that keep us primed and ready to make that baby. So, you know, I think it's really important to acknowledge this withdrawal, especially when we come on to consider what hormone replacement therapy is. Okay, and I'll come on to that in a little while. So because of the withdrawal of the hormones, the game starts to change quite a few years before menopause itself. So menopause is really that, it's only termed menopause when you've had 12 months without a period, which is what I have gone through now.
Me too.
Great, isn't it? Are you finding it good, Kate? Are you?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that it's over now.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's just been about 12 months now.
cool. So do you feel like you're coming into your own now?
Well, I don't know about that, but
Oh, you might need some remedies then to
yeah,
help
I'm probably.
help you ease into your own. So, you know, I'm sure you all know this, but I didn't know how much people would want to know about the hormone picture. But just very briefly, you know, progesterone is the first thing that starts to change. So that starts to wane, and that's what gives us, you know, an increase in the estrogen, because progesterone isn't there to level it anymore, which is, funnily enough, what happens when we're teenagers as well. You know, we get that estrogen surge, which is why there's so much likelihood that actually coming back to the girl itself that we were is so true, because we suffer with the same peaks of estrogen that we did when we were teenagers. So when we get the estrogen surges again, we get those erratic periods. You know, they can be very heavy. Our breasts can become very tender again. We can get migraines, anxiety, the awful night sweats that a lot of women really suffer badly with. And it's literally can be like landing on chance every turn you take and never knowing what card you'll get. So eventually, you know, estrogen starts to settle and then the board starts to calm, and you enter a lovely postmenopausal plateau, which I think I'm at. Kate might nearly be there, but she might need some remedies to help ease her into that plateau.
Yeah.
And that low hormone state, you know, that really does mirror childhood, and a kind of it is a second puberty in reverse, giving you the chance to recalibrate and to rebuild your balance so that you can stop reacting, you know, and instead start playing the game with a strategy in mind rather than be terrified of what's going to happen. So often what we get is this terrific energy shift as our metabolism changes. So, you know, the body becomes less sensitive to insulin. This is where Emma really steps in to really help with all that strength training and everything that she's brilliant at, so that your blood sugar can be more regulated, so that we don't get the afternoon crashes and the cravings and the tummy weight gain, which a lot of women will suffer with, and of course the crashing fatigue as well that this can cause. But, you know, I like to teach women that it's not about failure. This is feedback. So this is the body really starting to talk to you and demanding a different set of rules to play with. So, you know, we're looking at more protein, aren't we, for breakfast? Emma talks to you about this a lot, doesn't she? And she's really brilliant at putting those messages out there. Fewer sweet snacks, regular movement, that kind of thing. And also amazing remedies to help you with this shift. So as we're approaching this time in our life, as I've said earlier, you know, we're often holding really demanding jobs down with demanding families, aging parents, and also, you know, that emotional labor that a lot of us talk about, right, that men don't really get, but it's definitely there. And the brain can lose its natural buffer against this stress, and that's where the HPA axis starts to misfire, where minor stresses then start to feel major, and we can start to produce more and more adrenaline and cortisol, and that keeps us in fight and flight, and then we don't sleep, etc., etc. So this is where sleep really starts to be impacted, with the heart racing often very late at night. The mind can spin at 3 a.m. and it's like you're landing on the same square over and over again, rolling the same dice, repeating the same pattern, getting up feeling absolutely exhausted, and the nervous system forgets that it can pass go, and it unfortunately does not collect calm. But this is where we need to start protecting our reserves. So, you know, your adrenal reserves are huge at this time in our lives, because the adrenals start to take over producing estrogen. And this is why it's absolutely this hormonal withdrawal message that I want to get across to you tonight is vital, because although the ovaries might stop producing estrogen, you know, not everywhere else in the body stops that too. So estrogen starts to get produced in different, continue to be produced in different parts of the body, which keeps us going and allows us to withdraw naturally from these hormones. So if you don't take account of what's going on, you know, often you'll take out more borrowings from the bank, your reserve bank, than you do leaving deposits. So that can leave you running on hormonal overdraft, borrowing energy you don't have, and, you know, getting you into a really nasty place where, you know, that's where I come in, helping an awful lot of patients in my clinic. So what I'd like to introduce you to is the fact that we can start to take a pause, and I'm going to teach you how those pauses can look in terms of getting the parasympathetic nervous system to take over and to allow it to tell us that we're safe, and to help that through rhythm. So you know all of this because Emma's put this brilliant program together through Menofit, right? Through breath work, laughter, boundaries, going outside and getting daylight, and proper nourishment, sleep, connection, and touch. And actually, what I think is the missing link is homeopathy, because a well-matched remedy that I'm going to talk to you tonight is about landing. It's like landing on the right square or an unexpected community chest. It's a gift, you know, and it's a subtle shift that allows your system to get back into balance again, to get that reserve back, and to give you that calm and clarity that's often lacking at this time in your life. So I think the new way to see menopause is this, that it's not a hormonal deficiency, it's a recalibration of intelligence. It's the body just sorting things out in a different way. It's reorganizing. And as estrogen and progesterone withdraw, other systems like your adrenals, your brain, and your metabolism, and even your fat cells step in to lead. So homeopathy really acts as a weighted dice, a gentle nudge that helps your body to roll back into balance when it seems like it's stacked against you. So it's not deficiency. I can't reiterate this enough. It's just a withdrawal. And we just have to give you mechanisms and tools to help your body to cope with that withdrawal, just like we would if you were coming off caffeine or you were coming off tobacco or drugs. And it's not about loss. For me, it's about evolution. So what is homeopathy? And an awful lot of people say to me, oh my God, what's homeopathy? What does it mean? What does it do? Well, I'm going to try to simply explain it now. It's not easy to simply explain it, so bear with me, but I hope this slide will do it for you. So it's a system of natural medicine that was actually developed over 200 years ago by a doctor, an incredible doctor called Samuel Hahnemann. And he is the only doctor in Washington who has a statue dedicated to him. Such was his amazing gift that he left the world. Now, it works on the principle of like cures like. What that means is it uses tiny, highly diluted doses of natural substances to prompt the body's own healing response. So rather than suppressing symptoms, what homeopathy does is it sends a subtle signal that reminds the system how to self-correct. So what homeopaths call nudging the vital force. The vital force is the energy that lies within us that every system of natural medicine relies on. You know, the Chinese call it qi. We call it the vital force. And we use the vital force to restore balance and alignment back into everybody's bodies. So that's why the same symptom in two women might need two different remedies. It depends on the whole pattern of the person, their mental, their physical, their emotional, and often their spiritual symptoms too. So you can think of homeopathy as a sign of resonance, if you like. Each remedy mirrors a unique pattern within you and helps the body to re-establish that harmony. So just as the heart's rhythm can be restarted with an electrical impulse, the body's own healing intelligence can be reactivated by a much gentler, energetic one. That's put simply, but I'll explain it in a little bit more detail now. So during menopause, the body's own usual rhythms, you know, their sleep rhythm, the circadian rhythms, the temperature, our hormones, emotions, they can lose balance, can't they, very, very easily. And, you know, hormones are this finely, it's like a finely tuned orchestra. You know, if the violin section goes out of tune, you know, it can affect the whole system. And that's what happens with our hormones. So homeopathy helps by retuning the nervous system so that hot flushes, sleep and anxiety settle, supporting the hormonal recalibration as the ovaries retire and the adrenals take over. It can also help by easing emotional turbulence and restoring the steadiness and clarity that often women are lacking at this time in their life, and literally offer gentle, non-invasive support for women who prefer a natural route or want to complement other care. It's safe, it's individualized, and it's restorative, and we work with the body, not against it. And we're not about replacing hormones, we're just helping the body to cope with that withdrawal from those peaks of hormones that we have seen over the past 30 years or so. And if we look at all the different types of symptoms that we can get, I mean, apparently there's over 100 symptoms that come across in menopause. These are the typical ones that I see, and these are all ones that I successfully treat with our fantastic medicines. So how a homeopath works is that you go and see a homeopath to have a really deep and vital conversation. And together we look at the whole of you, your patterns, how you operate, what stresses you, what can help you to rest, what drains you, and what helps you to feel like yourself again. So what we're looking for in our conversation is we're looking to choose, help to match you with a remedy that resonates with you as a person in terms of your unique rhythm, to give you that subtle nudge in the right direction that allows us to say, this is going to get you rolling again. Now, it's not about herbs. A lot of people think that homeopathy is a herb. It's not. It's not a supplement, and it's definitely not a placebo. And it's also not a quick fix. You know, I'm going to say that with some candor there. But what it is it's deeply personal medicine, and it's more like therapy really for your physiology than a pill for a symptom. So its greatest strength is it treats the whole of you, because we look at everything that's important to it, even how you respond to cold and heat. So, you know, the fact that Mindy came in tonight and she's sitting by the fire, that's a clue for a homeopath to think about a remedy that likes heat rather than somebody who is stripped off and she's in a t-shirt. So everything, that the way that you operate in the world is really important. Every single detail about you as a person we are interested in, because we're interested in how you operate in this world and helping you to align back with who you really are. So let's go back to the principle that I spoke about earlier about homeopathy is based on like cures like, and I'm going to use a really simple example to explain this, and it's coffee, because we all like coffee? Do we all?
Oh yeah, love it.
Okay, so I actually have come off coffee during the menopause, and I'll talk to you about that in a little while. Because I found that it was hugely impacting me, interestingly, because we use it as a remedy, but I'll tell you about that in a second. So if you think about coffee, and I'm going to use coffee to explain the like cures like principle of homeopathy and what it's based on. I'm just going to move these screens out the way so that I can see you all. So caffeine is a stimulant, isn't it? When we drink a cup of coffee, it wakes us up, doesn't it? And makes us feel sharp. It can give us focus and it can get us moving. But if you have too much coffee, that same energy that it can give you can also unravel you. So your mind can race, your heart can pound, and sleep can often become impossible. So if you have too much, you know, there's if people come to my house for dinner and I'll offer a coffee or a tea after dinner, some of my friends will say, oh God, don't give me a coffee because I won't be able to sleep. Whereas other people will say, yeah, I'd love a coffee. Like my husband's one of them. He likes having a coffee after dinner, whereas you know, it would affect me. So there's a little clue again as to how, you know, caffeine or the coffee itself can impact a person. So if you think about a woman in perimenopause, she's wired but tired. She's maybe lying awake at 3 a.m. with the thoughts spinning, her nerves are jangling, the body unable to switch off. It can be akin to drinking 6 espressos, but she hasn't touched a drop of coffee. So she needs a remedy that matches those symptoms, okay? So the remedy that we use from coffee is called kefir. And here's the like cures like principle. So we will often use the remedy that's made from coffee to treat those symptoms: heart racing, heart pounding, sleep being disturbed, feeling wired but tired, lying awake at 3 a.m. We would use that remedy kefir to treat those symptoms in somebody who's suffering with those exact symptoms that I've just described. The difference with what we do as homeopaths in terms of preparing the remedies is that when we prepare the remedy, it's prepared in tiny little doses. So it's highly, highly diluted. So it doesn't stimulate the body in the same way that having a coffee would. And instead, what it does is it acts as kind of like an antidote. So it reminds the body how to calm the same overstimulated pattern, because you're just giving a resonance of the coffee. You're not giving the actual substance. So that's the essence of the principle of like cures like. The same substance can cause a disturbance in large doses that can help resolve that same disturbance when given in a finely tuned energetic one. It's not chemistry, right? It's not biochemistry. It's literally vital communication or energetic communication or energetic medicine. So kefir, the remedy, doesn't sedate a person, but it helps the body to remember the pathway back to stillness. So often, if somebody comes to me just with those symptoms, or even talks to me over the phone, desperate for a remedy to help them to sleep, help them get to sleep and stay asleep, I'll just send them kefir in the post, or tell them to go to the homeopathic pharmacy and get some kefir, and it can literally resolve their issues with sleep like that. And that's the heart of homeopathy. You match the remedy to the pattern of the person, not the label. And when you make the match, the body relaxes, retunes, and recalibrates. So, having explained that like cures like, has that landed with you all? Have you been able to understand that? Because it's that is the essence of homeopathy and what we're about.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to have a quick look in the chat, because I think there is some chat, isn't there? And I can't access the chat. Can you access the chat for
Yeah,
me?
it was me. It was me that said it. Can nobody see it? Maybe it's because you have to instigate it. I said I thought everybody could see it, so I've just said it was. Well, it was before when you were talking about the analogy of the chants and all of that board. It was that, and then it was just a comment about coffee, so I wasn't interrupting you.
Oh,
Um,
fine.
and I've just been
Oh,
putting emojis as well, just so that you can see. I don't know whether I don't know what screen.
I can see the emojis. No, they're great. Yeah, no, please interrupt. Please ask questions. It's better like that. That's fine. Okay, so now we understand that homeopaths don't treat the disease, right? We recognize patterns. I'm going to move you more into understanding what a constitutional type of remedy is. So if you think about each woman playing the game differently, and each woman being different, her body, her emotions, and her energy reveal how she moves across the board. Like, I mean, all four of us on the Zoom tonight are very, very different as people, aren't we? And so we'll all need a different remedy. We probably won't respond to the same one. So if you think about, questions that you might talk to a homeopath about, I'm really interested in hearing about the risks that she might take, or the corners she skips, or maybe how impatient she is as she drives to work every morning, or how, she gets up in the morning. Is she tired, or does she leap out of bed eager to start her day? Where does she lose her energy during the day? Is it with people pleasing, or is it with just feeling exhausted because she can't cope with the amount of presentation she's got to give, that kind of thing. So when we really align to the patterns that a person is expressing, we call that matching with a remedy the constitutional remedy of that person, or if you like, an archetype. So an archetype is like a style of play or a specific monopoly token, if you like. So it's the top hat, or it's the dog, a unique energetic strategy that shows how the body might respond when we are out of sync. So just a really simple way to try and get into homeopathy and think about the types that we operate under, and the types that can come into play when we are navigating the menopause. Each remedy will carry its own story, its own energy in terms of the speed at which she operates in life, and also how she navigates that emotionally as well. So when your story aligns with a remedy's story, it's like drawing the exact card that you need, and it's like switching off that reaction in the body, bringing you back into balance. So when we speak of remedies, and here's a couple of names of remedies now, like sepia, folliculinum, or lachesis, we're not talking about chemicals in a bottle. We're describing different ways in which a woman approaches playing her game, or playing the game of life, if you like, how she invests her energy, when she's giving too much, or when she forgets to collect from go, and how we can help her to rediscover her own rhythm again. So I'm going to introduce you now to some amazing constitutional remedies that could help you through this time in your life. So the first one, which we've already been introduced to, is Coffea cruda, which is made from coffee, and I've termed this one the top hat. Why? Because it's one of the crucial ones that we use during this time. So she's essentially wired but tired. I'm sure all of us here have
Yeah.
experienced that, right? The mind will not switch off, and everything feels amplified. So thoughts, sounds, sensations, emotions, even like something like, I had a lady come in yesterday and she said to me, I just can't cope with the noise in my house anymore.
I had that today, yeah.
I did too. And this is a woman who was like renowned for her kitchen parties. The music was always up loud, and she's like, I just can't cope with the noise anymore. And I'm like, she just needs some coffee, some coffee. And of course, one of the key things of Kefir is that they love coffee, absolutely love coffee. I loved coffee, but I realized that I was relying more and more on coffee to get me through a jam-packed day. And actually, it was making me so wired at nighttime. I mean, full disclosure, I was having about 6 to 8 cups of coffee a day from my beautiful, gorgeous coffee machine with its, amazing roasted beans, and it was just too much, and it was making me in that hyper state. It was making my nervous system completely overexcited the whole time. So the key symptoms with just to drill into a few more of them, are this mental overactivity, the insomnia, from the excitement or the worry, the wired but tired. Headache, key symptom with somebody who needs kefir, and it can feel like they've got a nail in the side of their head. Not necessarily though. This hypersensitivity, which I've already touched upon, palpitations, jitteriness. It can make you literally
Mm.
overjoyed, overstretched, overtired. It's the overproduction of everything, over this, over that, and ailments from strong emotions or excessive coffee. So literally, Kofia cannot stop rolling. She cannot stop playing. She's up. She loves it. She's up late. She's the life and soul of the party normally, right? But she's been doing it for too long. She's been buying too many houses. She's been running on adrenaline and espresso, literally. She loves the thrill until it becomes too much, and then she just collapses. So the heart races and the mind won't land. So if you give this remedy when it's indicated, it can literally take a woman from overstimulation back to that stillness that she's really craving. So she learns to rest in between her turns. She arrives then back at the still point after she's been in overdrive for so long.
Jan,
Really,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry, you may come into this. Would you put sugar and alcohol in the same stimulant as this, or is that different? Are you going to come onto that differently?
Do you mean sugar and alcohol as
As a stimulant to get, as the same reason why those things can also create the jitteriness, but also keep you going and be wide but tired, but also is that different than this, or is it similar?
Yeah, so the key thing with this remedy is it's the 3 a.m. sort of classic waking, and the she's so driven. So we also use sugar as a remedy in homeopathy, and we also use alcohol, funnily enough, to help people to withdraw from it. But also, sugar is often used, isn't it, as a crutch for somebody who is going through menopause, like alcohol is. Sugar, alcohol, both the same. Alcohol's full of sugar, isn't it?
Mm.
Very similar in that respect. But somebody who needs the sugar is, they want that energy. It's not as so the picture of saccharum, which is the homeopathic remedy of sugar, isn't so jittery. It's more they get the huge high, but then they come crashing down. They get very, very tired, and it's difficult to rouse them. And they can also be a little bit hyperactive, but it's not so as jittery as kefir.
Okay, so the jitter. Okay, it's just interesting because obviously.
Palpitations.
Oh, what did you say then? Sorry.
And the palpitations that
The
kefir suffers with.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously people share their symptoms with me too,
Yeah.
or share in a whether I'm just coaching or whether I'm doing PT, and you get to know someone over a long period of time. Those conversations with somebody doing PT, they get deep, they get explorative,
Yeah.
they get really personal. So you have to kind of be a judge of character, but you get to learn their personalities. But it's interesting thinking about the personalities, because I know you obviously have treated me from my personality and stuff, but for me to kind of perhaps be able to talk in more detail about homeopathy, that goes, well, actually this is the kind of thing that it can do for you. So that's very interesting in terms of
I mean,
the
you would make a great homeopath, because you're having the deep conversations. Because it's funny, because when I go to my PT every week, it's like therapy for me. Go to see my PT, the conversations we have, and the emotions that I share. If I've said that to you before, you'd make a great homeopath, because you'd be able to just go, try this, because as people disclose to you and they show the real them, because a lot of the issues that I see with women that I help is there's a huge masking that goes on, isn't there? Because they have to be strong, or they have to be the carer, or they have to be mummy, or whatever it is. So
And I think that I feel that strong women who are doing those things, got a job, being carer, they would consider anything less than their benchmark a weakness or vulnerable, or so it takes a long time to to let people show their vulnerability, but also accept something. No, it's not a failure, and actually, that we've got to be honest, and it's okay to say, do you know what, I really can't cope anymore with that.
Absolutely. And this, I mean, for instance, there's huge remedies for perfectionism in homeopathy. It's a big thing with women. And at a time in their life when they feel that they have to hold it all together for the sake of everybody else, when everything feels discombobulating because of what's going on with them internally, the way that they used to play the game, if you like, doesn't work anymore because it can't, because they're exhausted.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I agree.
yeah. Really, but it's Brené Brown, isn't it? It's being able to share that vulnerability with those who've earned the right to hear it, right? And being able to go, do you know what, this is what's really going on, and this is the remedy that's going to help me to get into alignment with that and enable me to say no. I mean, sometimes it's about enabling women to say no.
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's
Mhm.
you have to really look inside and really be honest about who you really want to be, because you can help yourself, but you have to realize that you've got to potentially really acknowledge what you do in life every day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, coffee, the woman who needs coffee, she'll just keep going. She'll just fuel herself on coffee. You see it even in labor, and I've helped a woman in labor who's classic kafir. She was telling everyone to shut the f up, and can you grab me a coffee so I can deliver this baby. It's like the clues that people give you as a result of what they're going through. She's just the women who need kafir, that they've been too wired all their lives. They're used to being really high performers. They're the top hat, they're the one that everybody wants. They just think that they'll get through it by having another coffee. It's that type of, oh,
Yeah.
I'll be fine. I mean, bearing in mind, right, this is an hour and a half. I had to try and get everything so succinct to give you a flavor or a picture of where these remedy pictures can really help somebody with what they're going through. There's a lot more to kefir than just this, but I hope I've given you a flavor of the type of
Yeah.
who's likely to respond well
Totally,
to it.
totally.
So here's sepia next. Now, sepia is a wonderful remedy for menopause, because sepia has never been well since the pill or any hormonal treatment or change. So if you're thinking about, you might be on HRT, or you might have had issues all your life with your hormones, sepia is the remedy for you, because she has been ravished by her hormones in her life. And that's why I've called her the boot, because she's run too many miles. She's knackered, sepia, absolutely knackered. She's trudged the whole board for everybody else. The classic picture of sepia is, if you look in the literature, in the homeopathic literature of the description of sepia from a long time ago, she's the washerwoman in the wash houses. People used to send their washing out
Yeah.
because they couldn't wash it themselves. So the bed sheets. She's been washing those bed sheets, and she's exhausted. She's got sallow skin. She's sweating underarms. She's pissed off. She's had enough. She's absolutely knackered. So she's got no energy left, and she's running on duty, not desire. And that even comes into her sex life. She'll have sex out of duty, not because she wants it. She'll fake an orgasm as quickly as she can to get it over and done with so she can get back to sleep. That's classic sepia. So some of the key symptoms are exhaustion with irritability or indifference. I love them, but I can't feel it. One of the key things is she really can't be asked with her husband anymore. She doesn't mean it, but she goes through this cycle where she's like, do you know, I just can't do this anymore. And it reminds me of, I once prescribed it to somebody for exactly these symptoms. And I wrote sepia on her envelope, and her husband looked it up on the internet and found that one of the key symptoms was indifference to husband. They ended up getting divorced, which was actually not really easy to do, but nevertheless, it didn't want it to be put on my shoulders, that, you know. So Sepia wants to be alone. She'll leave the house. She'll just want to go for a walk on her own. She's like, leave me alone. I've had enough. But the key thing about Sepia is she always feels better for exercise. So you might notice some women who need Sepia, they might come in going, I feel absolutely knackered. And you might say to them, well, you're here now. Let's get started. You know, come on, crack on. And then she'll feel better an hour later and you'll say, see, I told you you'd feel better. And then the next week she comes back and she's like, oh, again. You know, that's classic Sepia. She's always better for exercise, but she particularly loves dancing. There's quite a few remedies in homeopathy that love dancing. Sepia is one of them. Now, Sepia tends to suffer a lot, can suffer a lot with prolapse because they have this pelvic heaviness classically after childbirth. So Sepia's got this lovely affinity with never being well since childbirth as well, particularly a difficult delivery, perhaps. She can have period irregularities too. Everything hormonal affects her. So she'll get hot. She has hormonal headaches. I've already spoken about the aversion to sex, but the emotional impact of that is she feels really burdened. You know, things are lying heavy with her. She's heavy, feeling heavy inside, but things are also lying on her. Do you know what I mean by that? So things are heavy. They're lying heavy with her.
Yeah.
She's resentful, you know, she's burdened. She can be snappy and get back at somebody, or she can be tearful. So you can get these she's trying to mask it, or she's trying to carry on like she always did, but she's too tired to carry on the same way, and she often wants to run away. So she's been holding the game together for too long. She literally is responsible for everybody in her life, and she tidies everything up after the game's finished, you know, puts everything back where it needs to go, while everybody else just keeps on taking the turns. But the thrill for her has gone. The spark's gone. You know, that
Yeah.
sparkle in her eyes, it's no longer there. It's really sad. She doesn't want to get up and dance anymore. That woman who held the kitchen parties, you know, it was a long time ago. So when you give Sepia the remedy, it reminds her that she's more than capable of rekindling her dancing self again, so that she can go past go and collect her calm. So now we move on to folliculinum, which I have nicknamed the thimble, because folliculinum tends to patch and hold things together in her life. So she's forgotten where her own edges are, perhaps, because she's given so much of herself, so much care, so much attention, so much energy, that her boundaries have really thinned, and she's forgotten where she begins and others start. So folliculinum is actually made from estrogen, so it's a really useful remedy at this time in our life. So the key symptoms of somebody who needs this remedy are they can sense that they're being run by others. They can't say no. So, oh, could you just? Oh, yeah. You know, that kind of person. Would you mind? You know, she'll never say no. And you know the people who you can say that to, right? And women will often say that to me, that they'll come in, and when you really ask them what's going on, I just been taken advantage of, you know, for too long. They can't say no.
Yeah.
This remedy allows them to say no for the first time. And often what I'll do with people who need folliculinum is I'll get them to rehearse their no's. So I'll get them to write down nice ways that they can, because folliculinum, they're terribly nice people, you know. I'll get them to write nice ways that they can say no without, you know, feeling dreadful inside, because they can suffer with anxiety. They don't want to upset anybody, but they're feeling overwhelmed. They can also get palpitations, but it's often around key times within their period. So it's often linked to period type symptoms, as opposed to kefir, which would have the palpitations all day and all night. So unsurprisingly, the cycles are irregular because it's made from estrogen. You know, you often get the estrogen dominance picture where the breast tenderness comes in, bloating, fluid retention, heat, you know, and this emotional porous ability that they've got, this people pleasing tendency. They can often be a bit of a doormat, right? You know, where you're just like a bit, you know, those women who try to please so much because they're desperate to be liked inside, you know, and you're like, just calm down, you know, that kind of picture. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They can feel faint as well, so it's a great remedy for tachycardia. And she will say, I don't know who I am anymore, because she's given so much energy out trying to please and be the doormat and do everything for everybody to be this dutiful person, that she'll forget who she is. So she's one of the most important ones who I asked to bring a photograph, because she's often forgotten that she used to go, you know, tambourine dancing when she was a little girl, kind of thing. So she will fix things, you know, if you like, and it's the Monopoly board, she's the thimble, she stitches everybody else's game back together, she's looking out for everybody all the time, but she forgets her own hands are bleeding. So she is that person, you know, that saying, there's no need to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm, you know, that's folliculitis.
Mm.
So in giving somebody this remedy when it's required, it really allows her to reclaim who she is, to get back in her game. It's the most incredible remedy. It really is. So if we move on now to pulsatilla, pulsatilla is a wonderful remedy, and I've likened this one to the car because she's a very moving remedy. Pulsatilla will be very changeable. She can move about all over the place. So she often follows the emotional weather. So she'd be the type of person who, if somebody is telling a sad story, she will cry with the telling of that story. She's that friend who, you know, she will match you, you know, emotion for emotion. She's the one that you turn to when you want that comfort. That's pulsatilla. But she's very, very kind. She's very soft-hearted, and she'll steer her way around conflict like nothing else. But she'll always seek reassurance that she is going the right way, because deep down she's a people pleaser as well. Not on the same scale as folliculine and the previous one that we've just seen, but she still needs that reassurance, and will often ask, you might find this, Emma, in your class, am I doing that right? Is this okay? Is this all right? You know, that's very pulsatilla. And she'll do it with a lovely big smile on her face. So she adapts to every change in the traffic, but she sometimes forgets which lane is hers, because she'll often be driving somebody along, to the extent of losing her own journey, right? So she's very changeable, weepy, and she can be weepy and laughing the next minute. Oh God, it's terrible. Oh, it's just so awful. Oh God, oh, but it was really funny, you know, because I broke down in tears. You know, she's that kind of person. I know a few few like that. I don't know if you all do.
No, I think at some point you've recommended this remedy to me.
Why?
Absolutely, I've got pulsatilla downstairs.
It's a brilliant remedy, and it tends to do really well with very blonde girls. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I don't know why, but she's the little girl who cries at the school gate, pulsatilla.
No, I didn't do that.
You know, she loves being a good friend. She loves being in a group of girls. She looks after everyone. Princess Diana was quite pulsatilla like. You know, she was, please love me. Please, you know, they want to be loved. They've got a lot of love to give, and it can often be misplaced. It can be misplaced in the wrong direction. You know, like we saw with Princess Diana. It's that classic picture of having a lot of love to give. So pulsatilla hates being in warmth. So Mindy is not your pulsatilla girl, right?
No, and I think that's where I've drawn the line. I think it's just the changeable mood that I think you might have done.
Yeah, yeah. And listen, we all do it, right? You can be so angry one minute and then full of love the next minute. I know that when my gorgeous boy comes home from university, who I'm missing dreadfully, but as soon as he dumps all his bloody washing, I'm seething. And that's kind of the essence of pulsatilla. Oh, 1 minute and the next, right?
Yeah.
So when you see that, give it. So interestingly, her sleep is disturbed by emotion. So she'll be like, did I upset that person today? You know, that's what will come between her and her sleep. It's not the presentation the next morning she's going to be worrying about. She's going to be worrying about, did she upset Emma when she turned up late for her class? Excuse me. And funnily enough, pulsatilla will crave sugar, because the sugar gives her that little reassurance. It's okay. You know, that's what a lot of alcohol can do sometimes as well at this phase in your life. It's okay. You know, shh, quieten it down. It's all right, don't worry. You know, alcohol can be that crutch that a lot of us need at this time in our life too. So, in summary, you know, she's the car that drifts wherever others take her, because she's very happy to go wherever others take her, because she wants to have others like her a lot. But she'll slow down to check everyone's okay. She lets others go first, but she forgets to take her own turn, and that gets her into trouble, because at this menopause is very unforgiving for that, right? Because you've got to take that pause. It's called menopause for a reason, isn't it? Because she'll just give everything away to keep the peace,
Mm.
you know. And she has to learn, her biggest lesson in life, pulsatilla, is that kindness doesn't mean she has to lose herself. So what this remedy does is it enables somebody who has that in their picture to find their own sense of flow instead of relying on others' directions. And this can often be a really useful remedy when you've got, you know, demands being put on you from other family members, you know, because at this stage in your life it can be tricky to keep steering the car in their lane as opposed to your own. Lachesis is a different ball game altogether. So lachesis is actually made from a snake, and it's the venom from a snake. So it's a very different energy just by knowing that. So lachesis women are very, very passionate. They're intuitive, they're intense. We often describe them as magnetic, and they're commanders. You know, she will be the banker, you know, in the Monopoly game. She'll want to command the whole board, and she does it very convincingly because she's full of charisma and conviction, but she will bristle, and you will know about it at anything that confines her, or that anything that she doesn't about anything that she doesn't like. So when she's contained, you know, when she's trapped, her energy can turn turbulent, and you'll see this in a room. You know, she'll pace a room, or she might be stuck in a meeting that's gone on too long, and you'll see her, she's like a bit of a caged tiger. So words can start to spill out. She can lash out. She needs to be free. She's got too much energy to be contained within. She has to burst out. So unsurprisingly, her hot flushes will surge. This is a big hot flush remedy in menopause, and she'll feel she'll feel the heat in her face, her neck, and her chest. So she can't bear anything around her chest. So you can spot a lachesis a mile off, because they will, when they're suffering with a hot flush, they'll want to undress immediately. Classic lachesis. Their complaints can often be left-sided. They're very, very talkative people. They're very passionate, they're very opinionated, and they'll let you know. They're not frightened to let you know that they voted against Brexit. You know, they want to get everybody else on their same page. They don't like silence, can't bear it, and they've got a really strong sex drive. And this can be a problem for menopause in somebody who, you know, likes sex, if it's become a problem all of a sudden that, you know, their sex drive is completely gone. So, you know, sometimes just a few pills of lachesis can allow that sex drive to come back, and the woman's delighted again. The downside to lachesis is they can be quite jealous people, so they can get very suspicious, and sometimes in menopause that will go into overdrive, and often a couple of prescriptions of lachesis can bring that back into balance for somebody. You know, that women will say to me, you know, I'm sure he's having an affair, or they'll want to check the partner's phone, or all kinds of stuff. You know, I had a woman put tracker devices on her husband.
Oh God.
She was convinced, you know, and she, after a few doses of lachesis, she realised that she was being a little bit ungenerous in her opinions of her husband. So they'll often feel worse on waking. So they are not morning people, and they can be worse before periods or from suppressed emotion. And this is a great remedy for somebody who's never been well since the menopause. And you might know these women. You know, they'll come in having been through the menopause, and they'll say, I just haven't been the same since. So we've got sepia, who hasn't been the same since they were on the pill, or since they started their periods, or since they started HRT. Lachesis now is a classic remedy for women who say, as soon as I started going through the menopause, I just became a different person. Great for that.
Yeah, that does get muted quite a lot.
Yeah. So just it can be something as simple as that can point you to, a keynote of a remedy. That is a keynote. We call them keynotes when they're standout symptoms. So what this remedy can do in terms of bringing somebody back into balance is that teaching the woman who needs lack assist that she doesn't need to attack anymore. She doesn't need to be suspicious. There aren't the grounds there for suspicion. She can rest. She can start to release some of that fire, and that everything's going to be okay. And that's why she is literally the battleship. All right, so moving on to another constitutional remedy now, Submissive Fuga, which is wonderful, wonderful for menopause. And I've called this the iron because Submissive Fuga will press on. So she's a bit like Kafir in that sense. She doesn't stop, but she holds everything in. So she will hide the steam that's building up inside her. She's not a lackassist. She won't let it go. She will keep it all in and continue pressing on acutely, right, with the pressures. So emotional storms, physical strain, hormonal upheaval, you wouldn't know. She just carries on, and everything's ironed to all the creases are all intact. She hides it all, and as a result, she's got nervous tension inside. So you'll see her sort of by the way she's holding her neck. She'll suffer with shoulder pain because she holds her, so she can't help it. She has to contain it somehow. So everything's tight inside it. So she can classically present with a headache, like it's a tight band. She'll describe it thus. It's so tight that everything's tight. She can have a tight jaw because she's holding everything in, and she thinks she's going crazy. So it's the woman who'll say, I think I'm going mad. How many women say that to each other, during menopause? So many, right? I think I'm going mad. Yeah. And as a result, she can experience acute melancholy. So the depression can really come on her, and it comes on like a black cloud. So what that means is that it's not there all the time, because she's a doer, right? She presses on, Submissive Fuga, but the black cloud will suddenly descend, and she can't lift herself out of that. And it can be quite scary for her, because she can go to complete despair very, very quickly, and then descend into this awful, spiral downwards, that she thinks she's going mad and it's all her fault. So she's got hormonal fluctuations as well, but they will trigger pain, really, because of how tightly she's holding herself. And as a result of that, she is oversensitive to noise as well. So Submissive Fuga can often be confused with Kafir. But Submissive Fuga will feel trapped by the stress, duty, or emotional overload. I mean, are these things sounding familiar or what? These are all patterns, aren't they, that women will say that they are suffering with. Yeah. And she suffers a lot with muscle pain. Again, I reiterate, this is probably the third time I said this, because of how tightly she's holding on. So she suffers with the lumbago, and she can get arthritis. That's a classic keynote of Submissive Fuga. The woman who started with arthritis as soon as her menopause came on, because she's got internal inflammation that just goes straight to her joints, because it has to go somewhere. So it's all about heat, it's all about pressure, and her healing begins really when she realizes she doesn't have to press so hard to keep everything perfect. So what this remedy does is it reminds her that she can be soft again. She doesn't have to burn out.
Yeah.
Some of these make me sad, do you know what I mean, when I'm reading through? Because it doesn't have to, women don't have to suffer with this on their own.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sad thing is that so many women don't know that these amazing medicines are out there to help.
Yeah. No, I agree.
They get they just get taken down one
One
road
route.
and assume that, well, I've got arthritis, so that's it. And even though we
Yeah.
know arthritis is inflammatory, when you look at it from this perspective, and you perhaps go right down into, well, who are you? What do you do? How do you live your life? How do you make decisions? How do you, please people, don't please people, duty, all of that. It becomes the constitutional type becomes just a game changer, I think, when you start to kind of try to help yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like why is that so? Why can't you say no? What's really going on? Why do you what are you hiding? What are you keeping inside? So on to one of my favorites, and this is one that I routinely prescribe actually, is zinc, the remedy that's made from zinc. And I've called this one the dog because they're on alert, zincums. They're waiting for the postman, and they're so devoted they even forget how to sleep. So that they've gone beyond kafir kind of thing, because they're twitching now. So they're restless. They've got classic restless legs, and they can jerk a lot before they get to sleep. They're totally overworked, mentally fatigued, and that often leads to nervous collapse. And the fatigue is not relieved by rest either. And they can be very worried. Um, they can also be very sensitive to noise. They're classically overtired. And this is the key thing with zinc, they have brain fag. So how many women do you know say, I just can't think the same way that I used to? And often with zinc, I find that there's a history of pill use. So what happens with the pill is it completely depletes your system of zinc. HRT can also rely an awful lot on zinc and magnesium and other nutrients, to help it to be metabolized in the body. So often you get this picture with zinc, they're muddled, they don't, they'll leave their keys in the fridge kind of thing, and they've got a weak memory. And because of that, they can often feel I'm so, they can be very negative, talking to themselves. I've become so stupid. I used to be so on top of my game. I used to remember everybody's names. I knew who everybody was. This is classic of a teacher, for instance. A lady I saw last week, she's a teacher. She can't remember her pupils' names. She knows who they are, but the names just aren't coming like they used to. And I
Yeah.
think it's that kind of thing. Interestingly, they also have a problem with falling hair. So they can have, it's a great remedy for brittle hair and hair that started to fall, particularly from the vertex. And they can also have vertigo, as if they feel like they'd have a stroke, possibly because they're so depleted, right? So they don't know which way's up, kind of thing. They can get dizzy with it, but they can often be frightened or feel like they're about to have a stroke. So she just wants to curl up. Again, another reason why I called her the dog, likened Zinkham to being the dog on the Monopoly board. She just wants to curl up. She's so tired. She just wants to go to sleep and trust that the board will keep it. Can life just carry on? And I'm just going to kind of move to one side and curl up in a corner.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what zinc can teach a woman who needs this, the art of true rest. So moving on to, I think this is the last one. You might be pleased to know it is. So this is the last one, and this is a beautiful remedy called Carb. She's the wheelbarrow because she's been carrying everybody else's load. And a bit like sepia, she's absolutely knackered as a result. But what calc is that they have built their whole foundation on their family and their home. And often what can happen with calc is the children can leave home and she's like, oh, what do I do now? Because she's so solid and so practical. She's been running the children's lives for all these years, being weighed down by her good intentions and her responsibilities, that often when the children leave, she's then left feeling very tired and also anxious. So she can be very chilly, easily tired, very sweaty, but she has the tendency to just sweat around the head and the neck. I mean, you'll see this patterns of sweatiness, right? Some women will sweat profusely from their armpits. Other women will just, some women I see just say they sweat from their head. Classic calf. Yeah. So she can have palpitations as well, but her palpitations come on as a result of exertion. She hates climbing the stairs. She'll be short of breath. She's put on quite a bit of weight, calc carb, with her menopause. So that exertion can cause that picture of palpitations and the exhaustion that comes with exercise. And she'll get quite anxious, calc carb. She won't want to leave the house. She's very house orientated. She's home orientated. She's held the fort very, very well for all these years. But now she's like, oh, I don't know what I'm now supposed to do. So she can get very anxious and can get worried about her health. Actually, she can start to worry about things going wrong. She'll want to go and get some tests. She can bleed very, very heavily. Hence she can get depleted very, very quickly. And key thing again, the chilliness. She's also sensitive to cold and damp. So she might be, you know, you might see her in front of a fire, for instance, because she's going to be better pleased. I'm not
And
saying
in a hot country.
I'm not saying that Mindy is a wheelbarrow at all, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because Mindy is very practical and deeply loyal. So Mindy shares a few characteristics of somebody who needs calc carb. So she doesn't stop to rest. She's very dutiful. She carries everyone's loads. She gets anxious when the rules change. She really likes familiarity. She loves being at home. And her strength is her reliability, but her lesson is trust. Not every step needs a rule, and sometimes it's okay to part the loads and to ask for help. You know, carbonicums don't really ask for help because they're used to being able to deal with it all themselves. And sometimes menopause teaches them that it's okay to say, oh, I'm struggling a bit. Can you come give me a hand with this? Okay, so a little bit about HRT. 20%, it's astonishing, of the estimated 13 million women in the UK who are going through menopause go on to HRT. And look, no judgment here. HRT can be a lifesaver for many, many people, especially if they've gone through a very early hysterectomy, a full hysterectomy, which has taken their ovaries as well. So I'm not saying anything against HRT, but I'm saying that it's very different to what I'm talking about because it replaces hormones. It doesn't help you with the withdrawal. So with homeopathy, what we do is we help you to recalibrate with that withdrawal that goes on to lead you into a different balance. And we know that homeopathy works really, really well because there's lots of incredible positive studies, particularly around HRV, which is heart rate variability, which Em will know all about, which is a really nice way to gauge the effectiveness of something. And research shows that homeopathy positively impacts HRV. So I just thought that was nice to know. And I know we're running short of time here, but one of the things I think that's important to point out is the histamine estrogen connection, because this is a real thing that goes on during menopause, because estrogen increases histamine levels, but it also stimulates mast cells to release histamine. And this can be a real issue for a lot of women. You know, a lot of women will consult with me with skin issues for the first time in their lives that's happened as a result of menopause, not from teenage hormones going awry. You know, the same thing can happen again. So, you know, I just want to point out that actually it's really easily solvable, the histamine estrogen connection, and not a lot of women know about it. So if you are suffering with skin issues during menopause, have a look at the histamine estrogen connection, because it is a real thing. Because it can also be an issue with hot flushes and night sweats and hives and all kinds of things, migraines and headaches. And often it's really easily sortable. You don't necessarily have to resort to HRT. I'd also like to mention the gut microbiome, right? I know Em talks to you about it a lot, but I thought it would be interesting to just have this here for you for a point of reference more than anything else, because there are specific strains of probiotic that are really important during this time in your life. I've listed them all here so that you can have a look at them. You know, different types of lactobacillus that can really help you, particularly if you've got an issue with vaginal dryness, or, you know, there's an issue with sex. It can be really, really useful. And the estrobolome support, you know, it is a real thing. So don't discount it. you know, there's so much support that you can get that you're not necessarily, you know, some women who are on HRT will still take all this stuff because you can do both together. It's not either or, you know, it can be and too.
Just out of interest, those gut microbiome remedies, are they remedies you're mentioning there, or are
No,
they?
no,
No, I'm going to say they didn't sound like remedies. So are they things that can be bought by themselves?
yeah, there's just specific strains that really, really help. So I put a lot of my ladies will go on these specific strains.
Would you recommend Lambert's in this instance, or do you have somebody else that you recommend?
So it depends on who, well, it depends on who's got what in stock. So I love it. Lamberts are really good because they're really good. They're quite cost effective.
Mm.
In Vivo are also fantastic. So In Vivo do a particularly great one supporting the whole vaginal microbiome, and it's a lot of these strains in one powder. So that's one to look out for. There'll be other companies as well that I'm maybe not familiar with that do them, but these particular strains are I found are really, really useful.
Okay. Just wanted to check that you didn't have a particular route that you would
No,
recommend.
no, and especially with you know, UTIs can be a constant source of a problem for women at this stage because the estrogen dropping. So just even putting women on these strains of gut probiotics can be a game changer for a woman who suffers with chronic UTI issues.
Mm.
And the liver is really important to mention here too, not only because of the alcohol connection, right? So, you know, going off coffee can be a game changer because of the impact it can have on your hormone levels and also on the hot flush issue as you're going through this. But also alcohol has a huge impact on the liver, as we know. But it's also because not a lot of people realize that the liver is responsible for breaking down and clearing estrogen. So it's got a lot of the load to carry during this time in our lives. And this is why a lot of women will suddenly say, I used to be able to drink like a fish, but I can't drink at all now. And it's because the liver's just under a little bit more pressure than it was. So it's responsible for breaking down and clearing estrogen, both from the body's own estrogen factories, if you like, fat cells, brain cells, ovaries, adrenals, but also from the pill, from plastics, from the environment, from HRT. And when the pathway slows, the estrogen can then recirculate. So if the liver can't cope with this toxic load of estrogen, it will go back around the body and start to cause further issues. And this is often why I don't know if you ever did one, Emma or Mindy, I'll often recommend a liver flush at this time in your life, which can be really, really useful.
Mm.
Looked at it a few times, but
really good.
and weirdly we talked about it not that long ago.
Yeah, we did.
And
and
then
then
we just couldn't figure out when we could do
When
it.
to do it. Yeah, it's hard because, you know, a healthy liver absolutely keeps excess estrogen in check. So in my opinion, it's a game changer in terms of cancer prevention. It's like nothing else. So I think every woman should actually do some liver stuff at this time. And this is why I've mentioned it. I know I'm here to talk about homeopathy and there's lots of remedies that can support the liver, but I wouldn't be me if I didn't mention it because I'm so passionate about helping women to keep themselves as healthy as possible, because especially because of how much cancer we're now seeing as well. So there are specific homeopathic liver supports, and they are chelidonium, nux vomica, cardus, mar, or sulfur, amongst other things. But you can talk, you know, till your homeopath is blue in the face because they love talking about everything to do with the liver. So you can discuss these remedies with your homeopath, because you know it just supports everything. The liver, bile flow, helps the body to clear heat. You know, often even if women, I consult with women who've got horrendous hot flushes, sometimes I'll just give them a liver remedy, you know, and the hot flushes will disappear.
Mhm.
And soya, I just wanted to mention soya as well tonight, because soya is demonized often in the press, and it's so important, I think, at this stage of your life, because only 25% of Japanese women complain of hot flushes. And I think that's probably because of the diet. I can't say that with any authority. I don't know what you think about it, but
I think like anything that, you know, it depends on what type of soy you're talking about. Are you talking about whole soy? Are you talking about just a processed byproduct of it?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not talking about protein powder supplements. I tell you that for nothing.
No,
These
they,
type,
no.
and I'm going to tell you about the types of soy that I'm talking about. So, um, eh, they're told. So women are told not to increase foods which have high level of phytoestrogens, right? So avoid phytoestrogens. Anybody who's got breast cancer not allowed to have phytoestrogens, and both of these are often demonized. But I'd like to counteract that. So phytoestrogens, there are 3 types. That's all you need to know. I've written them here in case you want to come and revisit these slides and have another look at them. So, you know, you'll have heard about them. Isoflavones are in soya and chickpeas and lentils. And then you've got lignans, which are found in flax seeds. And yeah, I don't want to get into these in any huge detail, but I just want to introduce you to the possibility of ways in which you can help yourselves through
And
the.
I think that what you've just done there quickly is just say that, you know, that soy is in food groups that we know and love: chickpeas, lentils, flax seeds, broccoli, carrot. You know, they're there already, but they're not called soy. But they're there. But it's just easier sometimes to say that, you know, chickpeas, lentils, your legumes, all those seeds are good for us, because of, you know,
Yes.
phytoestrogens.
And the reason why they're so important is because they work like a key. So cells have estrogen receptors on them that act like a lock, and they need a key that fits into that lock to stimulate them into activity. So this activity can be beneficial in certain places in the body, such as the bones and the brain, where you want the cells to stay active, right? Especially to deal with that brain fogginess that a lot of women will report. But they can be negative in other places, such as the breasts and the womb, where you don't want the cells to be too stimulated, causing them to multiply and then mutate, and then we know what happens, right? And I'm really passionate about this. So the estrogen receptors, there's 2 types, red and green. That's all we need to know, okay? Breasts, ovaries, and womb have both types of receptor, and HRT triggers both alpha and beta receptors, which is why it can increase the risk of breast, ovarian, and womb cancer when it stimulates cells in those areas. Now, that's not me talking, that's the menopause expert, Dr. Marilyn Glenville. So I just need to let you know about that and what you can eat in order to mitigate some of those receptor issues. Because the isoflavones work in a completely different way, blocking the alpha receptors in the breast, ovaries, and womb, but they stimulate the beta receptors in the brain and bones. So it's like a no-brainer. Sorry for the pun, but it is. Because at any stage of the menopause, they can help protect you both from breast, ovary, and womb cancer while keeping your brains and bones healthy. And one of the key things that I say to women going through this, and women that I support through this stage in life, is once you're through it, you know, we've then just got to make sure that we keep the 3 B's healthy, which are your brain, your bones, and your bladder, because they're the 3 things that we need to concentrate on going forwards. And you know, a lot of that is sustained through strength training too. And the other thing is they can even help to block the foreign estrogens, and we're seeing more and more of these coming in because of what's happening in our environment, because they prevent them from locking onto the cells. So I make suggestions, you make decisions, but now you know about it, maybe you can look a bit more into it. And phytoestrogens also, as if there isn't enough to go on about these wonder things, they stimulate a protein produced by the liver called SHBG, which is sex hormone binding globulin. And you can get this in potency from your homeopath as well, because it binds hormones. So it can bind estrogen and prevent too much from circulating in your body. So, you know, it just has a huge knock-on effect because we are what we eat. So there's a little bit more information there about the remedy picture if you want to dive into it a little bit more. All right. So in terms of other homeopathic remedies, because there is so much to explore, it's so difficult to put this into an hour and a half, but I hope I've given you enough food for thought to think about, you know, ways in which homeopathy might be able to help you to navigate this time in your life. A lot of the things that women will say to me is they don't know who they are anymore. I think we mentioned this earlier, and this is just sorry, this is just a slide to express that here are some themes that some women with different types of remedies that we haven't looked at will often say. So just to pick one out, well, two out actually. Lachesis that we met before, the one that couldn't cope with anything around its neck. You know, she's suppressed her true self for years to fit into relationships. Sex is really important to her, but menopause will crack her mask, and she will speak out. You know, she won't be frightened to say it, to call it. And often she'll speak out as a result of alcohol. So, you know, I wanted to alert you to
Yeah.
Lachesis. We spoke about alcohol earlier, you know, because they'll use alcohol to get their anger down, because they're feeling like they need to see, they're feeling like they want to lash out, but the alcohol stops them. They use alcohol to try and calm themselves down, but actually the opposite happens, right? As soon as they have alcohol, and we all know the type of woman I'm talking about, it will come out in a rush. She won't be able to help herself because the alcohol will get rid of that inhibition. And Thuya, which is the last one on this slide, she's, you know, she's hidden her identity around perfection and appearance. So she's been wearing the mask that we were talking about earlier, and she's terrified if anybody takes the mask off, will they really like her? Will they like me when I reveal the real me? You know, that's somebody who needs Thuya. So all these little intricacies that make us who we are, they can all be identified through the homeopathic remedies that women need to help them to cope with the menopause. Pardon? Oh, sorry, Katie.
No, it's all right. Sorry. Carry on.
So if you're not sure about which remedy you might align to, and you don't have a homeopath that you can talk to, or there is a homeopath who's local to you, then there are some brilliant balanced remedies, some combination remedies that you can happily go and buy. They're really cheap homeopathic remedies. A little bottle like this, I'll show you a little bottle here, will cost you about £6. So they're not expensive at all, and they will last you for months. So here's just some of my favourite mixes that you can happily go and speak to the pharmacy about. So there's one for anemia here, there's one to calm the nervous system. You can see our favourite kefir is listed here as one of the remedies to help. There's a blood sugar balance if you find that you're craving sugar all the time, or you're pre-diabetic perhaps. There's one for complete exhaustion. There's even one for hair. There's one for women who are climacteric. It's an old term to explain menopause. That's how they used to refer to it, climacteric. But it's absolutely brilliant for women who are suffering with surges of heat. Then there's a specific one for women who are bleeding too heavily, and balance remedies. But you can discuss these if you wanted to with the pharmacies that I've detailed at the end of the information tonight. And then, like I was saying earlier, you know, some form of liver support will be absolutely invaluable during menopause, and it can help even calm all the hot flushes down. So some of the remedies, some useful organ support remedies to explore are berberis, which are really useful. It's really useful for the bladder, for somebody who produces likely to produce gallstones or kidney stones, for urinary problems. Lycopodium for liver and gallbladder complaints. Cardus mar, often known for varicose veins, helping with that. Dioscorea for gallstones, kidney stones and the liver. Taraxacum, which is dandelion. I don't know if any of you drink dandelion tea. That's another really useful one thing that you can drink during menopause. We actually have a remedy made from dandelion as well, which is called Taraxacum. Cholesterinum, funnily enough, really useful for chronic gallstones, made from cholesterol. It's not the demon that the press make it out to be, but that's for a whole other presentation. If better not get on that. Soapbox, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there's so much available. That's basically what this slide is telling you. And then I've just detailed there my useful therapeutic for sleep is ashwagandha. I'm sure you all know about that already, but I'll often prescribe that this mix for my patients, and I'll often add in ashwagandha into that too.
Oh, you're right, Kate.
I don't think that was me.
Oh, where was that?
I don't know
Oh,
if
it's that. It's you.
Hey, so
I couldn't hear what she said. I couldn't hear what they were saying. It was just.
it's just a little, it's a gorgeous little video this to show. I just love this because it's like when you give the right remedy and she comes back into balance, it's just incredible what you can achieve. And I really wanted to explain that, you know, she remembered who she was and the game changed, because women will say to me, thank you for bringing me back to myself. And that's what we can do.
That's nice.
So here's the details of the homeopathic pharmacies. You've got this now in case you want to call them, and you can order any of those remedies that I've spoken about tonight, or indeed get some of the mixes to help you through. I couldn't urge you enough to speak to a homeopath, to try homeopathy. It's a game changer. It changes lives. And, you know, from a personal perspective, you know, my children who are now 20 and 16 have never needed an antibiotic all their life because they've just grown up with homeopathic medicine. So that's it. Anybody got any questions?
No, yeah, very interesting. I probably need to do a little bit more looking into it. Do you do would you sort of meet me to help me, or do you or should I go through those other places you've just listed?
I don't know where you're based, Kate, but I've got a waiting list, unfortunately, for new patients. So I'm really full. So you're very happy to. I'd be very happy for you to go on my waiting list. It might take me 6 or 8 months to get to you. I'm so sorry.
Right. Oh no, it doesn't matter.
So I don't know where you're based, but you can go onto there's a register of homeopaths. If you go onto the Society of Homeopaths website, there's a register there of accredited homeopaths, and you'll be able to find one who's local to you.
Right, cool.
And in the meantime, join the waiting list anyway, because Jan is wonderful, and it's well worth the wait.
Yeah, no, I will do. Yeah.
But yeah, you can talk to me about my experiences with some of the things that I've certainly done with Jan over the last probably a bit longer, because I probably you were doing stuff before you were kind of trained and stuff, so we kind of knew each other then, but certainly, you know, the last 20 odd years of my life, for lots of different things, for lots of different aspects of my life and world. But those people that she's mentioned, Helios and Ainsworth, they're also really helpful when you come to order and stuff. But yeah, I would always look into someone that you might be able to see quicker. Put yourself on Jan's, because you kind of maybe think, oh well, I kind of like her because I've just met her and kind of virtually. But yeah, I would certainly, Kate, for some of the things that you're going through, to kind of maybe explore non-westernized route.
Yeah.
Could possibly help you.
Sure. Yeah, well, I've been in the mess for a long time, haven't I? So, and going on a wait list, that doesn't bother me.
No. Did any of those remedies resonate with you, Kate?
Yeah, possibly. Bits of here, there, and everywhere, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. I'll try anything. Anything to try and help me.
Yeah, to try and help you. You will. And when the only thing I wanted to ask you, Jan, none of the things, and I always say this, but I maybe should say it with less conviction. None of the homeopathic remedies are contraindicative, are they? It's anything people might be taking. So when they go, oh well, I better just, oh well, I'm not sure, and oh well, will it clash, and oh well, I'll talk to them. Then they're not, are they? Unless they can obviously tell me otherwise.
No, they're not. That's a really good point, and I sometimes take that for granted when I say, you know, you can take them with anything. You honestly can, which is why you can take them alongside any drug that you're on, because there is nothing material that's in the dose. That's why they're so safe, because of how diluted they are. I mean, I don't know if it's worth me explaining just how diluted they are to everyone, but they are significantly diluted, these remedies. So there is nothing in them that's material. It's pure energy, really.
and you can take, just because you've taken one for one thing, like you listed some things before, you can take them all, can't you? It's not, you don't have to kind of go, I'm on one, so I can't take the other. And because we are a little, I think, Kate, you're right, we are a little bit of all of those
Yeah,
pieces on the board. And some days we're more boot than we are iron, and some days we're, you know,
absolutely. Yeah.
and I think it depends on who we're with and who we're around. We'll tend to show our true colours. That's what people
Yeah.
mean by that. You show your true type, but also your type might not be quite what you thought your type was, because we are with hormonal withdrawal. So
Yeah.
type is maybe a bit mixed up at the moment. You do feel a bit bipolar at times, because you have a mixture. So you can
Yeah.
all or none, and the dosage. Because I always find the dosage quite confusing, if I'm brutally honest. You can take them every couple of hours, every
Yeah,
4.
so when something's really acute, so say for instance, what would be a good example? Say Lacasis, who's relying on alcohol as a crutch, right? And she's having a nightly drink to try and calm herself down so she doesn't like explode at everyone. Lacasis might want to take Lacasis every half an hour, you know, until she feels like she's calm again and she doesn't need that drink anymore, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Otherwise, to balance her, she might need to take it twice a day because she recognizes that she's very Lacasis in her approach. So to calm her down and bring her back into balance, she might just take it twice a day to get her through a sticky patch, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
don't worry about anything that you might already be
Thing
taking.
about the thing about homeopathy is we only give the minimum dose. So there's a few different principles of homeopathy. So like cures like is one principle of homeopathy. Another principle is we give the minimal dose, and what we mean by that is you give just enough to bring your body back into balance. So for some people, one tablet is just enough to bring them back. They can take one tablet and feel automatically, oh, I feel
Right.
better. Or the back pain suddenly, I mean, honestly, it can be that miraculous. The back pain can suddenly disappear. So they only need one tablet. For some people who've been suffering with in a Lacasis state for a number of years, they might need to be on it for a few days or a few weeks.
Right. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for joining
Thank you.
us.
That was ace.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's just it fascinates me, because well, we change. We changing all the time during this time.
We
So
are
we have to
going into different state. Yeah, and going in often into different states.
yeah.
You know.
And I think we have to kind of be aware of them, and then go, well, maybe I should just maybe I've not. I need to try something different now, but in a different, natural way.
I think sometimes, you know, it's like peeling the layers away, isn't it? And seeing, because we often present with layers, and some of those layers can be defense mechanisms. Some of those layers can be coping mechanisms, and some of those layers can be, you know, simply the result of years of suppression, repression, or just dealing with the load, you know,
Yeah.
that we've all been dealing with.
No,
Yeah.
I really, I would love more people to, look at this, just understand it, just know about it, to have the decision, to have the decisions, and then you can make your choices. But
yeah, totally.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you very much for giving it your time. I know you're incredibly busy and always invaluable.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Kate.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice to see you. Oh, should we have a little chat now?
I need my tea, but yes,
I didn't know how to leave. I wasn't
No, and I didn't know who has that recording now. You probably do you, Jan?
Well, oh, I can stop the recording, can I? Hang on.
I think you can stop it, but I don't know who has it. Do you have the recording now? Because you recorded it.
Oh, I don't know. Well, if I do, I'll send it to you. Hang on.
Oh, request sent to host. Oh.